Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? My name is Amy and I'm from Girl Power, and today I'm going to be joined by the lovely Anita, who is from Blossom Living with POI, and hopefully she'll send a request soon, which will be awesome. But I hope you are all having a great Sunday. It's gorgeous weather, isn't it? It's amazing. It's amazing. But if you are tuning in or catching up, then thank you very much for joining. Thank you that that you've spent your Sunday afternoon watching us. This is going to be the second episode of the hashtag POI Diaries that I have been hosting. And as I said, I've got the lovely Anita, who is going to be joining us, hopefully. She magically appears. The suspense.
Hi.
Hey, there she is.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Anita. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
I'm good, thank
Good,
you.
good, good.
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Perfectly.
Brilliant. I can hear you all good. But yeah, how has your Sunday, firstly, how's your Sunday been so far?
It's been relaxing, actually. I've just been doing bits and bobs, like laundry and cleaning and stuff, but nothing too crazy. So,
Brilliant. That's what it's all about. Sundays,
yeah,
it can be the rest day.
yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Anita, for agreeing to come and join me on this little series that I've been hosting. And I feel like honoured again. Like I had it with Sheree. I feel honoured with you because you were the first person who asked me to join you on your YouTube channel and share my story. And for me, that was a really big moment with sort of since receiving my POI diagnosis. And you, throughout the whole of my journey, have been a beacon of light and reassurance. And your dances on TikTok and Instagram, I'm sure I'm not the only one who says that is really reassuring. So I just feel very honored that you're here today. You're going to be sort of being your usual sunny, positive self and sharing what you want to share with us today.
You're giving me a big head now.
I'd be like, where's Anita?
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you for having me on your page as well. So, and I'm just so happy to be able to be here with you to share my experience. And well done, just well done to all you've been doing to raise awareness and just continue to be you, because
oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Well, that's it. That's the end of the live. Oh, well, Anita, obviously we know your name. We know that you're from Blossom Living with POI, but do you want to just share a little bit about yourself? And then after that, we'll go into your POI diagnosis. But where are you based? Like, how old are you? Like, what, I don't know, favorite, meal,
okay.
and stuff like that. Yeah, go from there, really.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Aweya. So, but most people call me Anita. My first name is actually Aweya, but most people call me by Anita, which is my middle name, Ilawure. I am 32 years old, soon to be 33. I'm a July lady, so next month I'm looking forward to it. And I am originally from Nigeria, but I'm based in Dublin, Ireland. I've been living in Ireland since I was 14 years old. So, and one of my favorite meal is an African dish called jollof rice. It's delicious.
Ooh, what is that? You said rice, but what makes
jollof rice? So it's rice. You parboil the rice, not to be cooked, and then you use tomatoes base. It's like tomatoes base, and it's seasoned, and it's just by the time you make it, you had all your seasoning and everything. It's just delicious, and I usually like to have it with chicken or turkey. And once it's been put in the oven, I like to put my chicken and turkey in the oven to be cooked, and then just put it on the rice, and it's just it's divine. Very nice.
Sounds so good. If I hadn't had my lunch already, I would have been like, it's gonna be a struggle for the next hour just thinking about that. No idea how you make it, but it sounds amazing.
I actually made it last weekend, and I had the last bite. Actually, when did I have the last rice? I think I had it yesterday because I pre-cook So I put it in the freezer. So I actually had the last yesterday, and it was just, you know, when something is almost finished, the last one is always the most delicious. I'm like, oh my God, this is so nice. But yeah, it's delicious.
Absolutely, you cherish that every
Yeah.
bite of it, and it's the small things that's, I think food is amazing to sort of, you know, in the doom and gloom of life, like food can be such a blessing to us to
Mm,
like
I
to do
agree.
that. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing a bit about yourself and everything. I think it's really cool that you're in Dublin. Would love to, well, I would love to go to Ireland, and definitely if I'm in Ireland, I'll give you a shout. I'll be like, yo,
I'll take you
Anita.
around. I'll take you around.
No,
It's like, it's crazy. Like to get to London is like you're in London, aren't you? Are you in
near
London?
London, yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
London. Yeah, it's like 2 hours flight. But I don't go that often. I need to go more often because I know most of the POI ladies live there. So we need to all like meet up and just catch up and just like hello in
Yeah,
real life.
yeah, absolutely. We're sort of yeah, the POI daisies are sort of
Yeah.
split across, you know, so there's some up in the north, some there's, I've recently got in contact with someone that's like in the west, and I'm like, oh cool, like that. So hopefully there'll be like more coordinators and you know, covering it all, and
Yeah.
that sounds good. So Anita, I suppose we've spoken a little bit about yourself, but I was really wondering, like, what's your story so far, like really with POI, and the what you deal with now, I suppose. And you can share as much or as, as little as that. We've got about an hour, so
An
you
hour.
know,
Okay. Oh, so I'm just
you
gonna just go for it.
go. I've got my iced coffee. I'll
I
just
was
be
gonna say,
sipping it.
where do I even begin? But anyway, so I think I never went into puberty, and I think kind of the first sign that my body, kind of indication that my body was kind of giving to me that something was wrong, was when I was 15. So at 15 years old, I had my first bleed. I call it a period, but it wasn't really a period, it was a bleed. So I had a first bleed, and the bleed lasted for like 3 to 4 days. Then it stopped. So at that time, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Why am I bleeding? Because I really didn't know anything prior to that about, you know, periods and, you know,
Oh
what's supposed
wow.
to happen as a young child. No one really taught me that. Anyway, so at that age, then I was told not to worry about it. This is what happens. I was further like educated. Put my phone alarms trying to disrupt their Instagram live.
No problem. I can still hear you. Okay.
Anyway, it's turned off. Okay. So I was told that not to worry about it, that it's supposed to come every month, and if it doesn't, it's fine. That some people get their period like later on in life, like 25, it's okay. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. I didn't worry about it. And after that 3 to 4 days, that was the end of the bleed. I didn't get any other bleed after that. So of course I'm young, 15. My main focus was school, just going to school, coming back home and doing the regular thing as a teenager. So with the kind of childhood I had, no, the family members, like the family care I was under then, really didn't pay much attention. They didn't really care to investigate further why my period never actually, my bleeding or period never actually like continued or returned at all. So there wasn't much attention paid to it. So, and I as well as a teenager, I don't know anything about menopause. I don't know why I'm not getting bleeding every month. I don't really understand why, but there was a lot of symptoms. There was a lot of kind of indication apart from the bleed. Early on, there was a lot of indication. I think that bleed that happened was kind of a way telling me, go get yourself checked. Something's going on. And I'm giving you like an early sign, but nothing was done about it. So 4 years later, almost 4 years, no period, nothing, no bleed, nothing whatsoever. Suffering from a lot of symptoms, like your hot flashes, your night sweat, memory issues, having difficulties at school. So a lot of the psychological and physical symptoms as well. So getting really angry and upset and just, you know, I was a very, I think a lot of people see me when I tell them I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm very like, just like, what you? I am. I was very, like, even up to today, but I'm learning how to be more like, I'm an introvert until you get to know me. then I would just keep talking. I would never like keep quiet. But I was very kind of like not much of a social person. I kept to myself. And, I wouldn't make friends that much. I was just like, really, I think that has to do a lot with my hormones as well. Like,
Yeah.
so, and, so 4 years later, and I remember having a conversation with one of my friends. She's a very close friend to me now. Her son is my godchild. So I remember we're having this conversation. I was around like 17, going to 18. Around 18, I'll say. We're having a conversation, and I said, "Oh, I don't get my periods. I don't bleed." She's like, "What?" It's like, "That's not right." I was like, never. I was like, the last first sign I had was at 15, and that was it. It's like, "That's not right. You need to get yourself checked." I was like, "Well, I was told by, family members, that it's okay not to worry about it." So I never really paid much attention. I didn't think I had to. I was young. The adults are supposed to know better.
Yeah.
So at that age, she told me, "No, you need to get yourself checked. It's not right." I was very adamant. I was like, "You're just a friend. I'm just getting to know you. Who are you to kind of tell me, go get yourself checked? Like, there must be something wrong with you." I was like, "Mm-mm." So I eventually did. So I eventually went to see my GP. At this time, I was an adult. I was 18, so I could go to appointment myself. I didn't really need, dependent.
Oh yeah,
So
of course.
yeah,
Because when you're a
yes,
child,
so
you need your parents to go with
you
you.
do.
And I
Yeah.
know for me, I used to get my mum to tell the doctor what was wrong with me. So yeah, that must
Mhm.
have been a huge thing. That's sort of like a bit of a penny drop for me when you're telling your story. So
Yeah, but I think in a way it was harder as well because I kind of had to deal with all the experience all by myself, and it was so much, so much. So I eventually went to seek medical advice. I went to the GP. The GP was the first person I saw, and he asked me some personal questions. When was the last time about your sexual health, your periods or symptoms and things? And I think apart from the absent bleed, like no period, just completely absent. And, some of the symptoms I was experiencing, like pelvic pain, constant headache,
mm,
and hot flashes, night sweat. I just gave him some symptoms that I was experiencing, but there was more to it. So he did some blood tests. As far as I remember, he did some blood tests, and then he told me that he was going to refer me to seek further help. So at this time, I was wondering what is going on, and I knew something was wrong. They were trying to investigate something, but I just was like, "What's going on?" There was a lot of just questions going on in my head. So I waited a couple of months before I actually got an appointment then with the reproductive specialist. So when I got an appointment, the same thing over again, questions. They did some physical exams, and they did a biopsy as well, and did some blood tests. And a lot was not really explained to me at that stage as to what, this is the reason why we're doing a blood test. This is the reason why we're doing a biopsy, or this is the reason why we're doing a physical to try and determine. But yes, they just told me we're trying to find out the reason why you're not bleeding or having periods, but nothing further. Then a couple of months later, I was called in to for my result. My instinct knew that something was just not right. I knew it was going to be bad news. I knew it was
yeah.
just. And at this time, I was 19.
Oh
So
wow.
I went in, sat down. My heart was literally like pounding. No, your heart is pounding. Your hands are just shaking. You just know.
Yeah.
Then as soon as I walked in, there was about 3 to 4 doctors. I was like, "Oh my goodness, okay, what's this
Well,
about to be?" You
yeah, I was
know?
going to say, did you have any idea at 19? Like, did you have any idea? Obviously, you knew something was wrong, but
Mhm.
was it even on your radar that it was like POI, like premature menopause?
No, not at
Uh,
all. I had like menopause. What was I had no idea
yeah.
what was menopause or like menopause. No, I had no clue or whatsoever. Nothing at all. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe it was going to be something where I would need like some sort of medication to help me, and that would be it. But I didn't think it was going to be life changing. Um, so I do remember during the process of kind of investigation, they gave me some sort of medication for like a week to try and induce bleeding, but I can't
Yeah.
remember the name of it. And that was it. So when I came in, there was about 3 to 4 doctors, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then at that point, I was already emotional. Like I was emotional. So I sat down and they said to me, "Hi, Anita." That's the other thing as well. That's why I'm so passionate about people. You know, if you're going through this process, it's so important to actually have someone with you, because
Yeah.
going through that alone, especially at 19, it's yeah, it was a hard time. So I sat there and they were like, "Anita, you have what's called premature ovarian failure." I'm like, "What?"
Wow.
And there wasn't much explanation. Maybe there was, but at that time, my mind was just somewhere else at that point. So you have what's called premature ovarian failure, and you will not be able to have kids. Straight away, they went into the infertility. You will not be able to have kids. If you want to have kids, you're gonna need egg donor and stuff. And that was just what was going on in my head. I won't be able to have kids, and I literally started crying in there. I was crying like, so I excused myself and I went to a corner to the bathroom. I cried. I sat down there. I was like, what is going on? Why is this happening? And for me, it wasn't really about the menopause aspect of things then, how it will affect my bones or my life. It was more about the infertility, because that's what they focused on. I was like, I
Yeah.
can't have kids. I won't be able to have babies. Oh my God, who am I then? It's like just so much that was going through my head. So I came back, and then they told me that I'm going to be going on a treatment called hormone replacement therapy. And again, no further explanation to why I was given hormone replacement therapy, what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to help me. It was just the
Yeah.
lack of information that was provided. So they gave me, they put me on hormone replacement therapy, and they gave me some prescriptions and stuff, you know, and then they said they would refer me back to my GP. That's pretty much it. I left it that day. Yeah, I think there was so much going on. I was at the point of being suicidal. I was like,
Wow.
but when I got home, I just locked myself indoor. I was in there for for days, just going through so much emotions. And yeah, that was just kind of the story of my diagnosis. It was, yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
Anita, that is just, I mean, people saying in the comments, like it's total trauma, like, and
Yeah.
it's appalling. I think what you were saying is when you get given that diagnosis at age of 19 as well, it isn't just, yeah, you're going to be taking HRT, you're going to be taking these
Mm-hmm.
drugs to help with some, you didn't even have that, and it's life changing. And I think you're so incredibly brave. I know you're 32, but I'm still like, I think anyone who like is able to talk about their story, I think it's
Yeah.
just it is amazing, and it's too much. Yeah, as Kirsten was saying, POI and beyond, it's too much at that age. Like, absolutely. And to have a friend it was the one that was said, that's wrong. It's wrong that you haven't had. I think it's
Yes.
really cool. And I sort of, yeah, I don't know. I like when you sort of, I don't know if you like Googled or anything before you went to the doctors. I remember when I did, and it came up with menopause. And you're right. I was the same as you.
Mm.
I didn't know what menopause was really. I thought it was like just stopping your periods. So that lack of awareness
Yeah.
and
I
that support for
yeah.
you as well.
I didn't really do much Googling there, because at that age I wasn't like crazy into like internet or social media, things like that. So I wasn't doing much Googling, and my mind didn't actually jump to go in there at all, because there was just so much else that was going on in my life, like than to kind of like, oh, let me go
Yeah.
Google what this is. Unlike now, where I'm like constantly, looking for articles, Googling things and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really me then. So, and to have it, to be that I was a friend that had to point it out at that time, why I was very adamant. It's like, why it's a stranger that I'm just getting to know telling me this, when people that I know, that's family, are saying it's okay. So that's kind of where I was a bit reluctant at first. But so yeah, so
No, I think, yeah, I
mm,
think that what like people were saying, like, so sorry you went through that. And I think, and it's obviously understandable that you locked yourself away and you were like, just to sort
mm,
of process it. I think there is something about when you receive such a heavy diagnosis that you do sort of shut yourself off from the world to sort of just try and process it, and especially at that age that you did. But like for you, if anyone was watching this, I'm sort of switching up the
Your
questions a bit,
questions.
but my questions. But I suppose when you were in that place, like looking back from in that place, and I know obviously, understandably, you were, you know, in a low point. What was it that helped break through? Like, what helped you like reconnect with people, or you know, get out? We basically unlock that door, metaphorically and literally, with your bedroom. So
I think that took time in just kind of, even people around me, I didn't really talk much about it. Like for me to get to a point where I am today, it took time.
yeah,
And it took a lot of, I think, kind of conversations with myself behind closed doors. And that's why I always say, like, when people hear me sometimes talking to myself, because that was kind of things, I'm a self-talker and I have full-blown conversations with myself. I've been wondering, are you okay? So I think that's kind of where that kind of came from. That having those conversations with myself indoors and just with having just being within my thoughts. So it took time, and even with the people around me, I wouldn't talk much about it. Even if they wanted to talk about it, it wasn't something I was willing to talk about. So for a long time, it was kind of at the back of my mind. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. Nothing. So once I finished school, I went straight into working at the age of 19. I started working straight away. So that kind of distracted me from thinking about it. And I was like, okay, I'm on medication. This medication is supposed to help me. So that's fine. And, you know, at that age as well, the way I grew up, it's like you get married, you have kids, you have babies and stuff. So I wasn't thinking about that. And I know that, okay, if I can have kids, that's going to be something difficult. But when we cross that bridge, we'll talk about that. So, and I noticed at some point it's how, even though I was just kind of like, I don't want to think about it, I don't want to talk about it, there was a lot that was kind of showing up in different aspects around me. And I was wondering to myself, what is going on? Why am I acting like this? Why am I feeling, why am I so angry? Like at the point I feel like I want to strangle somebody. You know, I want to strangle somebody. Even strangers on the street, they'll look at me, I'll be like, what are you looking at? You know, I get so angry. I was like, what is going on? And even my family and friends around me were telling me, why you just, so there was just a lot of anger in me.
yeah,
And I was upset. Like I said, I wasn't a social body. I was just kind of, you know, spread away from everyone. So I started to wonder what is going on. So at that point, I started to kind of gradually, you know, even though I wasn't talking about it, I was kind of gradually then doing my own little research to see what's going on, trying to find other people. Maybe there's some other women that's going through the same thing that I am, that, you know, I can relate with, talk with. And so I think the break point for me was around 2019. Where prior to that, I've been doing my own little kind of healing. But breakpoint was 2019 when one of my aunts came across the Daisy Network, and she told me, she's like, "Oh, look at this! You should go check it out. They have an event in the UK, and it's about POI, premature menopause." And at this point, I had already been telling my aunts and stuff about it. They kind of had discussions about it. I was like, "Okay, cool. Why not? I'll go and see what it's all about."
yeah. Why
So
not?
that was the first time, even though I've been living in Ireland for a long time, was actually the first time I went to the United Kingdom. So I went to London at the event. So I got there. There was so many people, so many women, young women is what I was like, wow. So there's a lot of people here. And then it was a way to meet others as well, to young women, to people, like you had people that came with their partners and things. And I met someone who had been diagnosed like for 20 years. I was like, wow. So there's so many people. It's just not me. So that day, the discussion and the knowledge that I gained as well from that event and everything. And it's just kind of just opened my mind to, like, I'm not the only one. There's actually others out there. And it's when you have that sense of community, or you start to meet other women, it helps in a way to know that, oh, there are others like me out there. It's just not me. Even sometimes when you feel isolated, you know,
Yeah,
it's easy to feel very isolated, but when you just kind of have that tingling in your head that, oh, there are others there, you're in a sense of community, it makes it easier to know that, yeah, there are other women out there. So when I came back, in that from that event. And I've been willing to kind of create like some sort of social space or whatever to talk about my experience, but I was a bit pulled back. So that kind of just, I was like, you know what, I'm going to create a YouTube page. I'm going to create an Instagram page, and I'm going to share my story however way I can to help others. And I'm just going to try and connect. Initially, it was to connect with other women, to meet others and talk and create a sense of community for myself.
Yeah.
And I did not expect it to be where it is today. So it's just,
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
mean,
Yeah.
not that you haven't just got obviously the YouTube channel and your Instagram, but you also launched, with Ava as well, haven't you? Launched the book, the journal.
Yes, a journal. We call it the booklet, the Blossom Living with POI/early menopause journal. So yes, I did. I know.
Amazing.
So it's just, yeah, and I'm just, whatever support, practical, either by talking, anything practical, just what I can do to contribute and support. And because I know what it feels like to feel alone. Because like she said, you were alone for a long time. Yes, I was alone for a long time, and
Yeah.
it took me a while to get to the stage I had. Yeah. So
That's amazing. That's amazing that your aunt, like that you did your own part of your healing journey, but that your aunt said the Daisy Network, and I suppose again it shows that, oh, yeah, you were alone for such a long time, and then for that to happen is, and
mhm.
I think it's so much everything, like what I get from your posts is a lot to do. A lot of your story does come through, like that whole thing of you're not alone. You literally posted something yesterday which I shared on my
Mhm.
story, and it's like you're not alone. And I think sometimes we do think that, even I'm sometimes I do think, if I haven't been on Instagram for a bit, like connected with you guys, I sometimes do go, oh gosh, I do feel a little bit
Yeah.
like my own. And then as soon as I come in and I tap in and I'm like, oh gosh, no, I'm
No.
not alone, part of
Yeah.
this community. And you said,
Because if you don't have someone like physical, somebody that's around you that's going through the same thing,
yeah,
that you can chat with or listen to, it's kind of like, it makes you feel like, oh my God, I'm such alone. This when you're on your own in your room and then you're feeling some sort of way, your symptoms are kicking you or whatever, you start to find yourself maybe falling back into that kind of mindset. Then that's what you have to remember. I'm not alone. If you have to go on social media, or if you have someone who's going through the same thing that you chat with, just connect. Then
yeah,
just always connect. I think that connection it's so essential, and it helps in a big way. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, definitely. It's a question that I've been wanting to ask you for a while, actually, is what was there like a reason or a thought behind the name, like Blossom Living with POI? Because for me, I'm like, is it symbolic? Well, I don't know.
um I think, yeah, it is in a way, because when I initially started, I was like, what name would I like to use? And for me, I don't like to, if I want to be creative, I don't like to think too much about it, because I think too much about it, it gets complicated. I'm just like, okay, and I forget about it. But once something popped into my head, I put it down, like, okay. So I was just like thinking, and then something popped and said blossom. I was like, blossom. Yeah, I love that. It's like a blossom of women, blossom of everyone. I'm blossom because every step of the way, I'm growing, and it's like different. So it just popped in that way. So I decided to just use the name, and I love it, Blossom Living with POI, because no matter what you go through, every single day you blossom, and each day it's going to be different, and we're all going to just blossom together. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. But I suppose sort of moving on a little bit in terms of, like, it's amazing that you set up your page, but in
Yeah.
terms of like your challenges that you've met along the way, like you mentioned that when you got diagnosed at 19, you got given HRT, but
Mhm.
have you had challenges with that? Like, what have you sort of had to overcome, and is there any encouragement that you could give to people through your own experience at all?
Mm. I think one of the biggest challenges for me would be the acceptance. So I'll talk about the acceptance when it came to acceptance of my condition. And that really helped me. I feel like now, like everybody is going to come into their own acceptance at their own time, at your own pace. So definitely do what's best for you. So then it's then finding that coping skills that works for me to help me when I'm in a grieving period, or maybe when I'm going through some hard period, finding those skills, because they help me on the long term. So when you find those little things that help you, if it's, I don't know, dancing, music, whatever it is that helps you, and just make sure you keep practicing that when you find yourself. And sometimes I always say it's okay to kind of acknowledge those emotions. I always did. I would cry if I need to. Even sometimes I would just be
Definitely.
I would cry. Yes, just let it all out. Cry if I need to. I feel so much. I'm like, okay, now let's put some music and, dance right away. So that acceptance took a while for me, but it was something I practiced every single day. And I think even up till now, even though I'm in acceptance with my condition, I've accepted that, okay, I'm going through this. This is what's happening to me. I still have my moments, but having those coping skills help me along the way as well too. And also in terms of being put on HRT straight away, I think, when you're put on the HRT, I feel like it's changed now a little bit, but there's still a lot that needs to be done, is the lack of information that is provided. That needs to improve so much, because it helps when there's information about maybe your HRT, why you're on HRT, what is POI, how it can affect you long term, your heart, your bones, your mood, and just we need those information, so that way when you're going through so much you just don't understand, when you go read these resources or look, you're like, okay, it makes sense. This is why I'm feeling this way. I'm not crazy, or so yeah. So I think for me, the biggest challenges was acceptance.
Wow, no, definitely. I think
I probably drifted away a little bit there, but I came back.
No, you've like articulated it so well. Like the challenges, the fact is, unfortunately for us, we can't change our diagnosis, but obviously we have HRT to help with the long-term effects, as you were saying about your heart, your bones,
your brain health.
There's
so many
that I forgot. I was like, but brain. And and it is about acceptance, because going back to what you were saying earlier on, obviously the doctors do focus on the infertility. So for me, I know they said the infertility was the main thing they went for. But it actually, at the end of the day, like dare I say it, the long-term effects for me outweigh the infertility.
It does. It does. And oh my God, yes, it does. Because then it's like, why don't we talk about that more, so we know, make sure you're on the right medication, you're on the right treatment, that you'll take care of, and you also take care of yourself as well too. And then it's just may focus on infertility. And I know for me, being African as well too, it is, I wouldn't say it wasn't, it was also a big thing for me, a big issue, because like I said, growing up, you can't have a child. Why can't you have a baby? And then you talk about bloodlines as well too. Having to carry that bloodline, carrying your own child, giving birth to your own children. So it was a lot. Even when I started telling my family members and telling my mom and stuff, that was another thing for me as well too. It was hard for me, but it took me time to do that. I had to make sure I did that when I felt ready to do that. And a lot of my family members don't even know. And some of them only started finding out through my YouTube content. They're like, oh my God, this is happening. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. It's not a big deal. It happens. They're like, oh, if you need support, I'm like, no, it's okay. I've got myself down. I know where to go when I need support. I have, So yeah, so it is. They're equally important, I think. They're equally important.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that's a whole different element as well, is the cultural expectation as well of as you said, having your own children. I think me being British, like I'm just
stop.
They're just like, yeah, whatever. But I think society in general, the women, they have that expectation that mother equals woman, and actually that's not necessarily. It's, you know, having babies is an absolute gift, and it is a blessing, but it doesn't define a woman. It's, you know, there's so many other things, and I think, as you said, it's yeah, making sure that you're ready to tell your family when is really
Yeah.
admirable, actually.
Yeah.
It's
And it's
really
at the
good.
end of the day, it's your choice. Like, you know, I think so much has changed compared to my mother's time or my mother's time. Nowadays, like, people choose not to have, so some people choose not to have kids, and some it's not by choice either. And others, you know, there's adoptions, and there's many ways now. So it's not just, you know, that bloodline anymore,
Yeah,
because sometimes, so someone like me, it's gonna be difficult, and I
yeah,
have to make the best decision for myself that others might not understand. Like, oh my God, why would you do that? But for me, at the end of the day, I have to make the best decision for me because it's my life. So yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
That sounds really good. And oh, thanks, Kirsten, for sharing that. She says really good book talking about the infertility
Oh,
side.
thank you.
Really good book called Childless Voices that talks about different
Mm,
experiences. So yeah, thanks for recommending that. But what I was going to sort of ask you is, I mean, you're so positive. You're so, and I love that, because, you know, my next question is like, you know, is there any positives from your POI experience? Like, you know, what has it taught you? I mean, you spoke a lot about acceptance, but, you
mm.
know, have you found?
For me, I when I thought about this, I think it's being able to use my voice, because growing up as a child and even up to my 20s,
Yeah,
I was never kind of encouraged to use my voice, to speak up, to talk. I was taught, shh, don't talk. You know, I'll be in a space where I wouldn't speak. I feel like my opinion or my thoughts or anything don't matter. So I feel like one of the positive things from POI is being able to use my voice and just express myself as who I am, and being able to share my story to help others. So that purpose of being able to share my story, however way to help others, and being of a support system to others who might need support. And, you know, it's just sharing who I am as a person that kind of lines in with my own story, shows who I am, my personality, and like you said, just my overall
yeah,
positivity. Doesn't mean I don't have hard times. I have hard times. I have times where, you know, but it's how I choose to kind of, you know, go with life and just live my life. And also another one is the community. It's that sense of community. I feel it has actually helped me majorly, and, you know, I just, it's important to have that. I've met, so I'm like you now. I wouldn't be here if not for PO. I wouldn't be talking to you live today. I would not have met so many other amazing women through this network. So that community as well. So those are some of the positive, I would say, that for me from POI. So
oh,
just
amazing.
some of it. Just
Just
some.
some.
I did, yeah, because I did see a post. I actually saw a post by Haley where she said that, you know, at some point in your life, you're going to be like, okay, so this is the reason why this has happened to me. This is the reason why I have this POI. And when I think about it, I'm like, okay, I wouldn't definitely say that I am there, but it's like a puzzle for me. It's like the puzzle is just coming in gradually, and I can start to tell, okay, these are some of the reason why, you know, these are some of the positive for me in terms of POI. So those are the two I would share.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so profound. Like, I think
Yeah.
real, if anyone is who's watching this isn't following Anita, then you should, because she's amazing. But
Oh,
you are authentic in your experience, and, you know, you come onto your stories and you be like, look, you know, I'm struggling with this or that, and you then equally come on when you're dancing, and you know, you have your beautiful smile, and you like your energy, and it's contagious. And I think it's amazing, and I thank you for you raising your voice, because yeah, it's an absolute beacon of hope for people that are in various stages of their diagnosis, or maybe they know someone that's going through it. And I think my mind's gone blank, but I'll
okay.
retrace it.
I
But
understand. Okay.
but I think it's really, really amazing that you are sharing your story, and also you've created that booklet. That's what I was going to say. You
Mm.
created the booklet that people can journal and be that, you know, have that extra thing that if they are going into like a medical appointment, that and various things and tracking their symptoms.
Yes,
It's
and mental health. Mental health,
yeah,
like it's important. The mental aspect of things, how you're feeling, your thoughts. Like there's some questions here that talk about how do you feel around your infertility and things like that. These are examples of what I had to experience that I shared, and also Ava, we shared together. We felt like it was necessary, for just for individuals at your own pace to kind of heal and come into acceptance at your own time. No rush, your own time. Yeah.
definitely.
So,
Well, before I sort of ask the last question, I've realised that, I mean, people are pretty good at comments, but if anyone has got any questions for for lovely Anita, then feel free to add any questions in. But I was just going to ask you before I ask my last question. So, what HRT are you currently on? And I suppose a little bit back to when you got diagnosed, when you put on HRT, did you find it helped those symptoms straight away? And sort of, yeah, what's your experience been with like being on HRT?
Yes, with HRT. So back then, I was placed on the I think it was, what was it called? Um, oh my God, I'm blanking as well. Ugh, I'm blanking. I was placed on the patch, but it was the combined patch that has Avron. Yes, the Avron counting. I was placed on the Avron counting that had the progesterone and the estrogen. So I
Yeah,
think I was on the lowest dose. It was like 50. I was on 50. I
that's
think if not
low.
even lower. So that's why I started with. But when I initially started, it was just a lot I didn't expect from HRT. My boobs were tender, and the love was just like, I was like, oh my God, this is a lot for me. So I then spoke to the doctor then, but I didn't know that I needed time for my body to kind of adjust to it and get like kind of adjust to the hormones that I've never actually, my body's not producing, I've never produced. So it was kind of hard for me in the beginning. So when I then told them that I felt like it was like all the symptoms, like side effects I was experiencing, like the tender breast and stuff, they
Yeah,
just told me, okay, we'll just take you off that. They Instead of them to say, you know what, it will take some time for you to get used to it, just give it time. So they then placed me on the Femistone 1x5. So I was on that for like 8 years tops. And I was on the lower, as you know, 1x5 was on the lower dose. Even during that time, there was a lot of questions like, why am I still feeling so many symptoms, even though I'm on HRT? It's not supposed to help. So there's a lot of symptoms I felt, which was like the physical, especially the physical aspect of things, and the psychological lack of energy, feeling very fatigued, and just not being motivated to do anything at all. And so there was a lot. And during that time is where I never really had a follow up. I've spoken about this before. There wasn't follow up with, just to check up on me to see what was going on, how I was feeling. They did do what was it called? What's it called? I'm blanking now.
is
The
it the
DEXA
bone
scan.
scan?
Yeah, the bone scan. They did the bone scan during
Yeah,
that time. I was diagnosed with osteopenia. So kind of get it into the routine of exercising more and things like that. I didn't really know much about good eating. That was eat sweet, eat anything that I want. I didn't have a good eating habit as well. So why being placed on that Femistone 1x5? I was on that for 8 years, and there was just a lot of symptoms. So what really then made me look into maybe changing is when I started, being keeping myself more informed and educating myself. I started learning more about different type of HRT and dose and strength and things like that. So and also some of the symptoms was I started sporting regularly, and my sporting was so thick, like clotted very thick, and I was having so many pelvic pain and a lot of symptoms. I was like, oh, this is not how I'm supposed to be. That's energy just to try and do exercise or go for a walk or lift with or do whatever I need to. I was just using all my energy, and then I was depleted afterwards.
yeah,
So when I started finding out more about HRT and stuff, then I really kind of like, okay, now I need a doctor, someone who can help me, who can support me, who can help me with the right dose of HRT. And it wasn't easy. I went for appointments. I went for appointment when the last, especially I went for appointments where I just felt like dismissed, and they tell me, oh no, you're okay, it's fine, it's your thyroid, it must be your thyroid. That's because I also suffer from thyroid issue, but it's been really good. And they tell me it's your thyroid, that's why you're feeling this way, that's why you're having the symptoms. This is everything was just placed on my thyroid, and my symptoms were just dismissed. But I was also on thyroid medication, so I'm feeling this way, something must be going on.
Yeah.
So until then, I'm under the care now of Dr. Louise Nissen. So until we
Amazing.
actually, oh yes, until we actually met, well, we didn't meet, but through social media space, I had done find out a few things about her already at that point, what she was doing and stuff. So, and during this time, I was really looking for help with treatment, how to feel better, and I was looking for menopause specialists around me as well. I was also looking at the UK because I knew the UK had a lot of menopause specialists as well. If I had to kind of, get someone from there to be doing like international, to be doing like over the phone virtual kind of thing, I didn't mind, as long as it's just someone that was able to understand premature menopause or POI and just understand HRT and able to help me. Yeah. So we eventually started chatting and everything. We talked about my medical health. I gave her history and everything, gave her some record. We talked and everything, and I talked about my symptoms. She was like, wow, you've been on a very low dose of HRT for. I was like, yeah, and these are a lot of the symptoms. These are things. She's like, yeah, they're hormones. I was like, I know, but there's nobody actually willing to, support me. And before that, even myself, I actually, during that time where I was going through a hard time, I went online, I started researching HRT, and I came across, because I didn't know much about other type of HRT, I just knew about femistone counting. So I put in femistone, then I came across femistone on its own. I think that's a femistone, that's a progesterone 14 days, estrogen 14 days. So I went to the hospital and I told them, this is another HRT which has a higher strength of more than what I already have, and these are the symptoms I'm feeling. Can they and they just prescribed it to me. It was prescribed to me.
Wow, that's really good, because that's normally it's not like that.
It was, well, in a way, but I was thinking in a way like, you just prescribed it to me. You didn't really do much test or whatever. You didn't really ask much questions. You didn't really think, you just. So, but as long as I wanted something just to make me feel better, so I started on the femistone straight away, and I started bleeding I started having like withdrawal bleeding every month, and I was like, why am I bleeding now? I got so excited. I was like, oh, could it be my period is back? Could it be? I got so excited, but I didn't know that it was 14 days progesterone, 14 days estrogen, and it's supposed to induce like mimic kind of
mimic a cycle.
Yeah, it's a cycle period. And when I found out, I was a bit like, okay. So, but I eventually went off that because of other issues that I had with it. So until now, I'm currently now on the estradiol patch. So I started with a strength of 100, then I increased up to 200. Then I also on the Eustogenol progesterone. So I take that every night. But I'm trying to kind of balance that out now because I'm having a bit of a progesterone intolerance, so I'm trying to balance that out between my progesterone and my estrogen. I'm working on that right now. But and then I'm on testosterone as well too. First time last year that I started testosterone. I never really knew much about testosterone, and I knew that it was more like male testosterone, but I didn't know that females produce testosterone. We needed it, and how it could potentially be of a benefit to me. So I'm on those now, and I also went on Vagifem because I've talked about it, I suffered from vaginal dryness for a long time, painful bleed, and it was horrible. And so I also started Vagifem, and I can't say how much that has helped me so much. Like, it's helped me so much. So I'm just
many people rave about Vagifem as well. I think it's great form of HRT if you don't want to be on HRT in particular, because it's local, it's low, but it's like low, but like your body's literally like
I know, like there's some things when I did my YouTube video, there were some things I couldn't share. I was like, oh my god, but it felt like my vagina was alive. I don't know. It felt like there was something when I was chatting with my Ava, and when we're discussing about it, was like, looked like it felt as if it was was just like alive, and I was
Yeah,
just feeling really, I think with the testosterone I was just feeling really roused. I'm like, this is new to me. I'm not used to this. Okay. No, you know, and it was just,
absolutely.
yeah. And then it helped, yeah, it helped me with that as well. And it also helped me with the testosterone as well. It helped him with more energy. I just had more energy to do things. I had more energy to, when I walk out, I still feel energized. I didn't feel so tired, and and then I just feel better. I feel like, oh, like just the way I felt before, there's a difference to how I feel today.
Yeah.
So yeah, just
That's
yeah.
really good that you're on a dose that you feel like your body's getting that the
Hmm.
right hormones for the deficiency. And you mentioned about Dr. Louise Newson, and that's amazing that you're in contact, like under her care and
Yeah.
everything. But obviously that's Dr. Louise Newson's great, but she's private, isn't she?
It's private, yeah, she is.
So
So
yeah, so yeah, if anyone's obviously wanting to check her out, she's the menopause doctor. I think
yes,
that's her
she is.
tagline.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Exactly.
no, that's really really good, and it's just really interesting to hear like what HRT that you're on, and obviously because you've gone through you have POI a lot like longer, so it's
Mhm.
interesting. I know obviously everyone's doses are going to be different based
Different.
on
Yeah.
bodies and how they absorb it and all of that, but it's just I always find it interesting because yeah, I'm on a different dose to you, etc. But there was a question that came through, and
Okay.
this is quite a good one. It says, like, do the doctors they know that, I'm guessing the doctors know what the cause was of your like POI at all?
They said it was idiopathic, so the cause is unknown, so they don't know the reason for my POI, which I think like 90% of all POIs is like idiopathic. So, and I think for me, I've kind of have a theory of what I think my cause could potentially be.
Yeah,
Because I've read some, actually, don't quote me, I've read some resources and read some articles that actually say, how stress, like a stressful or traumatic childhood can actually contribute, the way it kind of oppresses like or hormones or whatever. So I
yeah,
think like for me, reading that and then thinking about my childhood in a way, I think maybe that could have potentially maybe be one of the factors that contributed to, my cause of POI.
yeah.
But that's just my theory.
No, thank you for the thank you for the theory. And I think the Daisy Network have just done a little like series of posts about like,
Mhm.
like causes of POI, and I know that they've done a post
Mhm.
about how do you say it? I can't say it.
What's that? What are you trying to say? Actual
the,
what?
the one that you just said, the type of POI, you said you literally just
Oh,
said kind of
idiopathic. Idiopathic.
that's it.
Effectively
I
idiopathic.
couldn't say it. I was like,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, but that basically they've
Yeah.
created a post about that. So
Mhm.
yeah, but ultimately there's not enough as well as not
Research.
enough research that's
Mm-mm.
gone into POI, and
No.
hopefully that will change. And the more we raise our voices and connect with each other, and everything that's going on in the government, hopefully there will be changes. I have hope. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, Lisa. Do you feel like
Me
there's hope?
too. I have hopes because there's so many of us and we keep raising our voice in whatever way that we're doing and whatever we're doing, and I just have hope for the future that something will change, something will be done, and there has to be, because there has to be more research, especially if it's happening like such a young age. I think that's when it should become more intriguing. Like, what's going on? Why are young women and like young teenagers and women going into menopause at such a young age? Let's investigate. I feel like that should be something that's intriguing, But I have high hopes that you have to keep the hope. So we just have to
Yeah,
keep raising our voices in numbers and keep going.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do
Good.
it.
Keep going.
Keep
Don't
going.
stop.
Yeah. But so no, thank you so much, Anita. And I think, we'll start wrapping it up. But I suppose,
Yeah.
is there any last like points of advice that you might have for anyone who's got POI, or any last things that you wanted to share and end on at all?
Sure. I think I actually made 2 points here. So I was saying, like, for advice for anyone who has, like, who's going through the process of being diagnosed or who has POI, just kind of find your support system. If you're on the journey to getting diagnosed and you have an inkling of what it might be, having someone like to go to appointment with you, to have that support system, and just find your own community, the sense of community, find your tribes, people that you can talk with, you can interact with, share experiences. Because I also learn from sharing experiences and listen to other people's experiences, and that I can then take that and kind of see how I can use it in my own, with my own journey, and how maybe someone's talking about HRT, they feel like this has helped them. Potentially look into that. It's okay. Maybe if I talk to my doctor about this, look into that, might be potentially of a benefit to me. And what else? I'm blanking, so let me see what I have here. And if you have a daughter who has POI, or you have a sisters or anybody, just ask them, how can I be of a support to you? How can I support you? How can I help you? And just try and be the best support that you can for them. And I think a lot of making assumptions as well too. And don't make assumptions. Ask. Ask if you're not sure. I think that's the best way to know. And don't allow anyone to kind of what's the word I'm looking for, to minimize your experience. Don't anyone to minimize your experience. Your experience is your experience, is unique to you. And especially when it comes to going for appointments and stuff, I still get that up to now. You're menopause? You're too young. What? Who told you that? What age did they tell you that? Why are you going through this? Even sometimes when I go for appointments, I have my patch in my tummy and they need to check my, like, what is that? What is that? And sometimes they can say things that you're just like, oh my God. So, don't, I know it's hard to say, don't take everything so personally, because, it's that that person doesn't know. So it's kind of in them than it is of you. So just don't try to kind of find, what's the word I'm looking for? Just trying to find ways to
It can be
take care
quite
of you.
boring.
Yeah, it can, just to take care of you. It is hurting. It is going to be hurting. So find ways to kind of, like, if someone's like, I've had times like that. Sometimes I will actually confront the person. I'm like, no, this is what it is. But most times it's just not bothered you. Like, oh my God, this is too much. I'm not going to deal with this today. So find ways to kind of make you, like, to help yourself and things like that, if that makes sense. And I think that's what else. Yeah, just get advice, seek advice, and keep yourself informed. It's important to just keep yourself informed, because it helps you as well to help you make the best decision for yourself as well. And I think overall, the lack of education that's out there, I think that needs to improve just overall with doctors and GPs, and just, yeah. So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
hope that was that answers the question.
It does. It definitely does. I think it's really, really good that you're saying, being kind on yourself, but also being aware as well that people, like, as you said, health professionals don't, the lack of research does mean that they will potentially say triggering questions and triggering things. As you said, you're too young to be through the menopause, and almost being the hardest thing I've learned is to try and be gracious and be like, I'm not, they haven't spent ages researching POI and trying to, and trying to be gracious with that. It's hard because you think they should know more, but I think you did really, really, like what you were saying of advice wise is really good, of informing yourself. I think is really important to be able to advocate, and hopefully then helps the professionals know as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of why, again, to go back to, what's the positive about POI, it's actually being able to also, able to understand other women's health in general, and just be able to show sympathy as well to others who might be experiencing maybe, other medical condition that has to do with women's health. And, just, yeah, it's not easy, and you just have to kind of take care of you. It's important to take care of you. It's important to just take care of you, because you are you know your body better. The last thing I was going to say, you know yourself better. Like I said, I have cases where I've been told that, oh no, it's not because of your menopause, it's not because of this, being pushed and just kind of suffering no, why I'm like, oh no, what about this? And what about this? Can't we just listen to this? This is what I found, you know? So just listen to your body. If you don't feel right, definitely go seek advice and just keep advocating and, you know, pushing and just try and get the best care for yourself.
Awesome. I think that's that was a really good point to end on. So just want to say again, thank you so much for joining me, Anita.
Mm-hmm.
You've been fab, and your story is inspirational because, as I said, you're just so authentic with your experience, and also authentic in your friendship and how you connect with other people, and you know, share, you know, helpful, informative posts, but also just spreading a bit of joy as well. So thank you for being brave, and that sounds really
Having me.
brave, and you're bold, and thank you for sharing your story and for your time this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me, Amy. Thank you so much for
There's
having
no problem.
me.
And
Really
thank you to
excited.
everyone who's tuned in and everything.
Yes.
And if you're catching up and you've got questions, then feel free to reach out to Anita. Follow her on Blossom Living with POI, or you can reach out to me as well. But it goes without saying, enjoy the rest of your Sundays,
Yes,
Sunday afternoon.
and just to say that if anyone, like, you're looking for support, the likes of the Daisy Network is there, the Menopause Charity as well is also there, and there's a lot of other like pages as well too. So you can just go to Amy's page or my page, and you can just look at the, you know, the people that we follow, and you can find a lot of like pages out there to, you know, for support system and some groups as well you could potentially be part of. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. That was a good end, being like,
Yes.
here's the resources,
Yes,
guys.
the resources.
But yeah, thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.